They say that being deeply in love by someone gives you strength, while loving someone deeply gives you courage. Linda wasn't sure of what to make of her thoughts as she lay on her back on her own side of the bed, tucked away under the duvet. It made no sense why she was feeling so unsure about the whole marriage thing with Kevin. She couldn't just place it. Why did it suddenly feel like she was drained and exhausted, drowning in her own emotions? She looked at Kevin, who was also lying on his back under the duvet on his own side of the bed. His face was pale as he stared at the wall. The space between them could accommodate 3 averagely sized adults, and so was the distance between their hearts. They were far apart. What could be going on in his mind, she thought, quickly avoiding eye contact with him as he turned to look at her. She lay on her side so she had her back to him, her face against the wall. This wasn't what I bargained for when I said I do a year ago, she thought, fondling her wedding ring as she traveled down memory lane. Linda Sutton was born and brought up in a provincial town in New Orleans. Her father, Patrick Sutton, and her mother, Lisa Sutton, were average parents who loved their daughter and only child so dearly. They made sure Linda had the best of everything, including quality education. She was the envy of her contemporaries due to the love and care she got from her parents. And to repay their love for her, Linda was a very obedient child, building a strong bond with them, and was never far from home, even when she made all-important life decisions, including her choice of city to work in. She made sure she was within arm's length from the very people she shared a special connection. When she made good savings after a few years of working as a secretary for an IT company based in Mid-City, New Orleans, she bought her parents a beautiful house in the French Quarter, New Orleans, knowing the location is a 10-minute drive from Mid-City where she worked. "Baby, why don't you come live with us? It doesn't make sense that you still pay rent when we have a house that is a 10-minute drive away from where your workplace." Lisa, her mom, suggested a few months after they moved into the new house. She was right. She could save more by not retaining her apartment. Having thought about this, Linda moved in with her parents. Since she had a car, it wasn't hard getting to work. After all, it was a 10-minute drive. Life became even more fun for her. They would spend every evening together on weekdays and all day during weekends and summer camping. One day, as Linda was at work in the middle of the afternoon, Lisa called her on the phone. "Honey, you are not gonna believe this. I just met the most handsome man in New Orleans at the mall." "Mom, you are married, happily married." "Need I remind you that?" chuckled Linda, busy on her office computer. "Don't be ridiculous. Of course, I am not getting attracted to him. I saw a perfect fit for you," refuted Lisa. Linda was shocked to hear what her mom had to say and quickly shunned her, jokingly. But when Lisa became persistent, Linda reluctantly gave in to her plea to meet the handsome young man. "Thank you, honey. You won't regret this, I promise. Let me quickly go back inside. I bet he is still making purchases. I will get his number so you two can properly meet thereafter. Love you," finished Lisa as she turned to hurry back inside the mall. "Yes, my matchmaker." "Love you too," said Linda, jokingly before dropping the phone. Later that night, over dinner, Lisa intimated to Linda about how she met the handsome young man and their conversation. Linda's dad, Patrick, was keen on the conversation. He was a little embarrassed that a much older woman found him attractive, but I was quick to brush that thought off his mind when I told him that I'd like him to meet my daughter, narrated Lisa. Linda watched on with disbelief. She couldn't believe her mom did that for her. "But why did she think I need a man?" she thought, smiling. He introduced himself as Kevin Brooke. "Said he is from Ohio but lives here in New Orleans," said Lisa. "What does he do for a living?" queried Linda, inquisitively. "I see someone is getting interested here," teased Patrick. "Dad." Linda blushed, embarrassingly. "He said he is a medical doctor, working with Tulane Medical Center," Lisa replied. Linda was beginning to get interested in the young man. Everything said about him stood out. She never really gave relationships much attention. Although she has had some flings here and there with some random guys, she never really thought of a serious relationship as necessary because she got all the attention, care, and love she'd ever wanted from her ever-caring parents. "I can't wait to meet him. When are you inviting him over?" quipped Patrick. "Dad, I've not even met him. Will you guys give me a break?" "I don't even know if this is a good idea," said Linda, blushing. "Of course it is, honey. I know you have a good heart. You are pretty and hardworking, and you deserve the best. I know you two will make a perfect match," Lisa assured her. All through the night and the week that preceded it, Linda thought about the possibility of the idea of her mom matchmaking her with someone she hadn't met. Being a Taurus, she was not the kind of person who'd be keen to try something new. She'd rather allow things to be the same way they have always been than make changes. She wasn't sure she would feel the same way her mom felt about him. For all she knew, the young man would not feel anything for her. She'd rather let the sleeping dog lie than start a fight she wouldn't be able to finish. Each time Lisa inquired whether she had met with the young man, Linda always managed to change the topic. On several occasions, her dad would ask her about the young man, but she'd manage each time to give him one excuse or another. They soon stopped talking about him. Two weeks on, Linda drove home from work as usual. It was a Tuesday evening. As she approached their house, she saw a black sedan car parked in front of their house. She wasn't familiar with the car as none of their family friends or previous visitors drove such. Who could that be, she thought, pulling beside the car, and carefully inspecting it closely. Having satisfied her curiosity that she hadn't seen the car before, Linda hurried inside, curiously. As she got closer to the front porch, she could hear the warm voice of her mom having a hearty chat conversation with someone with a male voice she wasn't used to. Her heart jumped, and blood began to pump faster. Could that be what I'm thinking? She thought as she paused briefly at the entrance door. As she opened the door, her eyes caught the most handsome face she'd ever seen. There in the living room were her dad and mom, flanking a very handsome young man. He had the most beautiful eyes she had ever seen on a man, glowing sea rover blue eyes. His Mohican cut and scythe-shaped eyebrows were one of a kind. His Roman nose and half-domed cheekbones sat above an oaken jaw. His wrestler's shoulders hung on his perfectly knitted shirt that excellently outlined his burly physique. There was something unique about his hair, Teutonic gold and shiny. God, he is perfect, thought Linda. She couldn't take her eyes off him as he walked up to her. He took her hand gently and gave her the softest kiss on the back of her hand. She has never gotten such a first impression from any man before. "I am Kevin Brooke. I've heard so much about you, and I've been eagerly waiting to meet you," he said, never taking his eyes off her. "I am Linda Sutton," she stammered as they both stood there in an awkward moment as they were lost in each other's eyes. Seeing the instant connection instantly developed between them, Lisa got off her seat and announced that she was going out to take some fresh air. Patrick followed suit, leaving Linda and Kevin standing in the middle of the living room. Soon, Linda came back to her senses and blushed shyly, lowering her gaze. "It's already late. If you don't mind, I'll like to take my leave now. I'm having an early start tomorrow, and I still have a lot of work waiting for me at home," suggested Kevin. Linda agreed with him and offered to walk him to his car. As they got to his car, they stood there staring at each other for a while. "May I have your number? Maybe we could talk later tonight if you don't mind," he suggested, breaking the awkward silence swaying between them. Linda gladly gave him her number and walked back inside the house as he drove off. Lisa and Patrick were already in the living room before Linda came in. Lisa gave her the "I told you so" look as both parents smiled at her. Linda couldn't be more thankful to her mom as she gave her a warm hug. She was right after all. Kevin was the kind of man any woman would pray to have. She was lucky fate brought them together, all thanks to her mom, and couldn't wait to know what would happen next between them. Later that night, she waited for his call as he promised. Although it didn't come early, when he eventually called, Linda was so excited that she quickly picked up the call. As Kevin tried to apologize for calling late, Linda quickly dismissed the gesture, assuring him that she didn't care what time he called as she was aware he had a lot on his table. Kevin, on his part, was marveled. What a thoughtful lady. He had never met a girl this understanding and tolerating. He, however, resolved to study her closely as it was too early to conclude her personality. But one thing was for sure, she was the right woman for him. Her beauty was soothing to his soul. He swore he could see her heart through her eyes, such an angel. He had to refrain from calling his mom the next day. She had been on his neck lately. "Kevin, when am I meeting your girlfriend?" his mother queried over the phone. He knew exactly what she wanted, a wife for him. He had never denied her any of her wishes, but this particular wish was difficult to fulfill. It was true that he has had his own fair share of romantic adventures, but no woman had met his long list of expectations. Catherine, his last girlfriend, almost ticked the list but fell short with her overbearing attitude. Her arrogance was second to none, always ready to nag at the slightest provocation. He was so happy to let go of their 8-month-old relationship the day she threatened him with a breakup for failing to keep to their Valentine's date, despite calling her about 4 hours to the date to inform her that a patient had been scheduled for emergency surgery as it was a matter of life and death, thus, the need to reschedule the date for the next day. She had rebuffed his plea for understanding and hung up the call on him after making her threat known to him. He never called her again, and neither did she, throwing an 8-month-old relationship in a trash can, just like that. But in Linda, he saw something different. She was so calm and composed that even the air around her was cool. "I pray she is real," Kevin silently wished. The following 4 months were indelible from Linda's heart. Kevin turned out to be the most romantic man she had ever met. She never asked for anything, but it appeared he could read her mind. Despite having such a very busy schedule as a surgeon, he was always on point, never missing a chance to see her for anything. They spent most evenings at her home with her parents, enjoying hearty conversations over beautiful dinners. Other times, he'd take her on dates, treating her to lavish meals. On her part, Linda made it a point of duty to give him gifts on a weekly basis, no matter how little. She has found the perfect man, and no matter what it takes, Linda was determined to sail through this love journey with Kevin, hoping it leads them to a happily ever after.